What you are about to hear is highly classified. Pay attention.
No, it's not.
Everybody hears it. I mean, what the heck?
Grant,
Yes.
I really like the intro better when they did it on the old Mission Impossible series.
Thank you. But most, okay. But most importantly, remember this, at least. If
Always wear clean underwear.
Well, you said that last week.
He has a lot of...
So you should always remember.
Okay, so it's just a weekly reminder now. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
But,
Good cast is always worth repeating.
yes. But if your DC movie really sucks, the internet will still help you make a Marvel one.
No, it won't.
What, they will?
Apparently. Ask Ryan Reynolds. We'll get into that later.
Oh, grosso. Okay, I gotta go get some Pepto-Bismol.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, you are now entering Zone 4.
No, you're not.
All right.
Not going anywhere, Lou.
And welcome back to the Zone. I am Brant Fowler.
I am John Wilson.
Finally.
On technology that's cryptically bad.
I am Gordon Demowski on Auto-Tune.
You had to think about it.
And I'm Captain Ron. Ouch! I burnt myself in that stupid match. Where's the fuse? Dun, 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 dun. Anyways.
He's using team technology.
Oh, can you believe episode 287 of Zone 4?
It's crazy.
Hey, talk about lighting a fuse. We are racing towards episode 300.
We are, indeed.
Oh, boy.
It's going to be crazy. We got to make up some plans. It's coming very soon.
I'm suddenly feeling like that deer in the headlights, guys. You know what I mean?
We do this every time we have like a big episode coming up, and we're just like, oh, we'll make plans. We're going to make plans, and then
sure. And 2 days before the show,
it's like, what are we going to do?
So I say let's take a different tactic, okay? For episode 300, we are doing nothing. Okay? We're just going to go in and say, yeah, it's episode 300, and just treating the business as usual.
Yeah,
that's what we're going to do.
Actually, we're not even going to talk. We're just going to turn the thing on.
Right.
And you may catch like random words and coughs and bodily functions and stuff, but
I'll be working or browsing the internet in the background.
yeah, like while we're browsing Twitter and Tumblr in the background.
Right.
Oh, yes. Okay, there you go.
It's going to be a fun show.
Our
Everybody
store
tune
is going to be closing and shutting every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, every once in a while, one of us will yell, "Oh, cool, Super Hulock."
Might hear my dog in the background every now and then.
Right. You hear dogs over here, too. Oh, man. But before we get too far off the tracks, we should mention, which I did forget to put in the agenda, so I'll just mention it here. We are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network. You can find us each and every Friday on comicspodcasts.com. I always love how I have to stress that S at the end. It's such a hard thing to say. But you can find us and a bunch of other shows over there each and every week. So check them out.
You do sound like you have a speech impediment every time.
I know. Comic Podcasts. Either that or I'm like Cobra Commander or something.
You're part of the Serpent Society.
Yeah, exactly.
Segway!
Oh, but John, I know you might have to run early, so we're going to shake things up, let you do your announcement stuff right up at the front of the show, and then we'll move on to some topics.
Woohoo! Okay, one thing that hasn't even happened yet, but I found out about it today. There is a gentleman named Chris Epling. Lives in Lexington, or in the Lexington area somewhere, and he does a book called Salt. It is a book about his kind of an autobiography about his journey through life, through his work, through his religious exploration, and a bunch of other stuff. Well, I have on occasion written a few nice things about him on comic related. Well, he came to me today and asked me to write the foreword to his graphic novel.
Oh, wow.
So that's going to happen. Let's see. Other than that,
Real quick to add to that, if anybody wants to check it out, it's saltwebcomic.com.
yep. Yes, indeed. It's the essentially the first year of Salt collected.
Cool.
So it'll be a fairly hefty tome, since it is I believe, a weekly webcomic.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it'll be a pretty big thing, and it's a pretty big thing anyway. So that's the big news. Other than that, I'm still coloring New Comic Day, and Brandon's almost to the point where he doesn't change things. Almost.
Very
and
close.
Beyond that, still developing characters for the book that I'm working on with a former teacher friend, and I am in the character concept drawing phase of my own webcomic. Not webcomic. It might be a webcomic, who knows? But no, it won't be a webcomic. It'll be my Pneumatic Cases book, and I put one of 3 teaser things for my reboot of The Lady in Red on my Tumblr. And that is, which I should have been prepared with the name, but I don't.
I think it's johnwilsoncomicsguy.tumblr.com.
Indeed, it is John Wilson Comics Guy, .tumblr.com. Because it confused me because my Twitter is John W. Comics Guy.
Yeah.
So I get a little confused every now and then. But yeah, you can go check it out over there. The other 2, are currently sitting on my Photoshop waiting to be finished. So, those get out one of these fine days. And, other than the Mighty Comic related, that's about it for me this time out. Now let's get on to some real stuff.
All right. And of course, the rest of us will fill you in on our announcements towards the end of the show as usual. Hello?
Hello.
Okay, there you go. Okay, it scared me there for a minute, John.
Start that crap again, man.
All right, so as we are keeping this a little bit tighter show, it's topic time.
Topic time. It's topic time. Headline edition.
Yes, and in 10 seconds each topic. Let's go.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. But we are doing. Yeah, there you go. We are doing a headline edition of Topic Time this week. Not a whole lot of news going on, but there is a lot of film and TV news that we can talk about, and we're going to talk about some other stuff after the headlines as well. So, all right, first up, as our intro kind of alluded to, Deadpool film has been confirmed by Fox. Release date February 12, 2016. Ryan Reynolds attached to star as the lead. What do you guys think?
Well, I know somebody comic related who basically had an orgasm from that. But
Eric.
The rest of us are like going, really? Okay, yeah, okay.
Okay. Just a warning to those of you who may be planning to go to the movies that day. Be warned, because the stench of Axe body spray will be filling the air.
That's funny.
Every third.
I think this is going to be the straw. I think this movie ever gets made and ever gets released, I think history will look back on the day the comic book movies ended.
Oh.
All right, please, okay. God.
I don't know. The test footage, the CGI test footage that they released was actually pretty cool. I like it.
It's Deadpool.
It is Deadpool, I know, but
I mean,
Well,
no.
you know, Brant and I back. Go ahead, Gordon.
Yeah, I was about to say, have you ever noticed that even when we talk about something that looks like a train wreck, Brant always manages to pull something out of, like, yeah, it looks cool. You know? You're talking about a Deadpool movie, Brant.
well,
yeah, for which they postponed the Fantastic Four movie, which probably isn't a bad thing in and of itself. But in reading that press release, the one I was really annoyed with was they postponed Assassin's Creed with Michael Fassbender.
yeah.
And that, to me, looked like something that could prove to be interesting. But no, we're getting Deadpool instead.
Yeah, that bothers me, yeah, the Assassin's Creed thing. The Fantastic Four, yeah, they pushed from June to August next year, so whatever. Not really excited about that. The director they have attached to this, he's only directed 2 films in the past, and they were shorts. and they were back in 2002 and 2003. So I don't know what that means either for this project. But yeah, I don't know.
It means he's got a lot of vacation time to take at McDonald's.
I guess so.
He's got a lot of splaining to do.
Mm.
But Brent and I have actually been talking about this off Skype,
Yeah.
and I think we kind of came to a consensus. There's a lot of things that have to happen for this thing to not be a complete train wreck.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, one is if he takes the mask off, he's got to be hamburger underneath. He's got to be all pitted face and, all cancerous and all that underneath. If he takes off that mask and it's Pretty Boy Reynolds, that theater's going to riot.
See, I'm not so sure about that. I don't know.
You don't think so? Because if he takes off that mask and it's Ryan Reynolds under there, completely looking like he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I'm not a fan of the character, so I'm not that knowledgeable about him.
Mm-hmm.
But what I am aware of, again, referring to our colleague at Comic Related, those people who are fans are not just fans, they're fans.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
It's a cult following.
They are
kind of
obsessed
thing.
with this character. So I say, John's right, hitting the nail right on the head here, okay? There is a devoted following that isn't going to put up with anything less than the character they love. So you're right, John. If they show Reynolds Pretty Boy, they'll be rioting in the streets.
Yeah, maybe so. For anybody that doesn't know, isn't familiar with the character, he has a healing factor, and because of that, his cancer continually heals itself. It stays constant. So, yeah. So he's all born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback on John's point, if it's Pretty Boy Ryan Reynolds, you know how upset and what a hissy fit Eric Ratcliffe's going to have? I mean, it's not going to be safe to head to Comic Related at all.
No,
He'll start the riot.
I will say that the first part of the Wolverine movie with Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool was, I liked his interpretation of the character. The skin aside. But that's just me.
But that was decades ago, though. I mean, if you're following a timeline.
True.
That was decades ago.
But he does have a healing factor. Yeah.
Well, true, but, the healing factor is messed up by his cancer, and the cancer is why he's all deformed, so he does have a healing factor. Secondly, they're gonna have to play up the funny.
Oh, yeah.
If they try to make this a serious movie, they're toast.
Yeah, and another thing, a Deadpool fan that I saw a comment on a video, he said it better be rated R. Which
and it's got to be
true
rated.
too, yeah, because even the comic is parental advisory, so at least it's got to be up there. So,
I mean, I personally despise the character, always have, for many reasons, not the least of which is Layfield. Not the most of which is he's a direct ripoff of
Deathstroke.
Deathstroke, so, but I could see, he is popular enough in the Marvel circles that, if they're smart, they'll do those things. They'll play the funny, they'll mess him up, and it's gotta be, Sin City level violence. It has to be.
No.
Well, you know how I'd end this, okay? And I mean, spoiler alert here, but why? Nobody's going to pay attention to me anyways. The end of the film, the credits would roll, and then he'd rip off his mask, and it'd be Clint Eastwood.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? I made Deadpool. No, that's the name of my movie. Because there was a movie named Deadpool that starred Clint Eastwood.
Or reference that. Yeah, that'd be smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, what should happen is the very, the post-credit scene is Deadpool being a wise guy. Clint Eastwood comes out, pulls out his gun and says, "You just insulted my friends," and shoots him. Dead. Because I would pay cash money to see a Marvel movie in which Clint Eastwood as Dirty Harry Callahan shoots Deadpool. I would pay to see that.
I don't know. I'm not a huge obsessed fan of Deadpool, but I do like the character in spurts. I like him.
Is that some kind of a new network that I haven't heard of? Spurt?
I like him in small doses. I'll put it like that. But yeah, I don't know. I hope it's good. That's all I can say. So we'll see.
It's also around Valentine's Day, so
Yeah, which is
market it as a date movie.
Yeah, but that's that's a funny date movie.
Somehow, John, I don't think Deadpool fans have to worry about dates. Just call me crazy for saying.
Yeah, there you go.
But we know how movies do in February. Not very well, but so we'll see. Ghost Rider came out in February, if I remember correctly. So,
Probably.
Yeah. Moving on to some other news. TNT is eyeing Teen Titans, which they're thinking of calling just Titans, a 1-hour live-action drama based on the younger characters. Seems like they're going towards the George Perez, Wolfman. Marv Wolfman. I couldn't get his name right for some reason. Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, it seems like they're going towards that cast. They're talking about Dick Grayson, aka Nightwing, and Starfire and Raven, at least at this point. So,
we're talking before we started recording to see a fairly straight interpretation of Dick Grayson as Nightwing live action. I'm on board. Where do I buy the ticket? I really want this to happen. And it's going to be really wild to follow the casting, who they're going to pick, unknowns, people or whatever,
Yeah. It's interesting to me how DC is diversifying their properties all over these various channels, and now it's even another one: the NBC, Fox, CW, now TNT.
Well, DC better own television because they sure as heck don't own the cinema.
Yeah. Well, TNT, it's a Turner network, right?
Yeah.
Turner Network Television. So, Time Warner.
It's actually a much smarter move to own TV because with a movie, you've got years of development. If you're funding a movie, it's not just that a studio writes a check. You sometimes have to get foreign investors. Sometimes that determines who you hire and who you cast. With television, it's a much shorter turnaround time. Fox last year very famously said, okay, no more pilots. Everything we consider is going to go straight to series. And I think that's kind of the trend. And I think it's, DC can be a lot more nimble. And because they're already owned by Time Warner, there's already that system in place. Mm-hmm. So I think it's much smarter to kind of go, okay, Ben Affleck as Batman aside, I think it's a much smarter move to own the medium that Marvel is still very much could never quite get a handle on. So I have no problem with DC going, you know what, let's fight the war here. Let's not worry about getting Avengers money. And also greater opportunities to stream, distribute, DVDs, all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, plus you get to, you can run that thing to death.
Oh, yeah.
Especially a network like TNT.
Mm-hmm. 5
where
seasons.
Where they'll run things forever.
Yep.
And not just run things, but rerun things.
Yeah, exactly.
True, yeah.
Yeah, so that's an easy, good way to turn this into kind of a cash cow in a way, because even on a rerun, it's new ads.
Yeah. But even look at, Falling Skies is on TNT, and it got bad a long time ago, and it's still going.
Oh, yeah. So, TNT is hard to let anything fall.
The opposite of Fox. Yeah.
Exactly.
Once we got you for life.
Right. Yeah, Fox gets things in 5 episodes, TNT in 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be interesting what direction they take with these characters, though, if they're going to go... TNT, it's their logo, their slogan is "We Know Drama."
Right.
So it's gonna
I assume it's going to be drama. Hopefully not, CW teen angsty drama.
No, that's why I think they're going more with the Wolfman Perez, because they're a little bit older.
Right.
More. Yeah.
They're what would you say, early 20s? Yeah.
Right.
And their early 20s. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Interesting.
So fingers crossed. Like I said, I think this has a lot of potential, and it's something I personally like to see. I was a huge fan of that comic when those two gentlemen were doing it, and I'm tickled pink that's the cast they're going to be bringing to live animation. I mean, live acting, not animation.
Right. Well, speaking of TNT, over on the Marvel side, they have acquired TV rights to the next several Marvel films. And John, I know you found this story, so if you want to elaborate.
Yeah, sure. Starting with the Avengers: Age of Ultron and Cap 3, they pretty much secured the rights to. They didn't say exactly how many, but they did say the next several Marvel movies. So probably, since Cap isn't until 2016, I would assume that they have at least the next 5 years. Actually, it did say they have each of the 5 films. So, so 5 films probably over the next several years.
Yeah.
If that goes well, they're going to, I'm sure, re-up that.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, and for people listening in who aren't probably getting the clarification of this particular topic, what we're talking about is TNT has gotten the rights for the network premieres of these movies, okay? And I find that especially in this stage of iPads and smartphones and all this stuff, okay? This whole idea of a network premiere of a show that, everybody and his uncle across the globe has seen 10 times before it even, airs on network is like, how valuable is this really? I mean, come on, it's like, half the people, 90% of the people out there already own it on DVD and blah, blah, blah. Is there a real value to having this world premiere on the network,
On the other side of that.
There actually is, Ron, for 2 reasons. One is advertising. They can, if they've got a slot, and it used to happen back in the network days, if you had your Tuesday night movie from 8 to 10, and it was really popular, you could sell ads for that higher space. In terms of the people have seen it 20 times and own it on DVD, well, if people are flipping, not everyone has an iPad. Not everyone chooses to download it illegally. And not all movies, some people don't necessarily rush out and buy a movie on DVD. So yeah, and also in terms of positioning itself. FX has been traditionally the shield, justified kind of hardcore. They were doing that kind of stuff long before. And it sounds like TNT is kind of moving more away from the prime woman, Rosati and Isles and Closer, and maybe trying to pursue that male demographic. So yeah, it is a big deal.
Yeah, and another thing they, especially TNT, they replay those movies over and over again. So, it's, I don't know, when I'm flipping channels and I land on something like that, it's an easy kind of thing to just sit there and watch. So, I don't know, it's pretty interesting, though, especially being a Time Warner network, that they have the rights.
To me, it boggles my mind that, especially in, today, there are still, and I'd love to know what the percentages or the numbers, but there are still households out there who literally don't have cable.
Yeah.
Right? Don't have satellite, don't have cable, still have those ridiculous rabbit ear antennas up there on their roofs. I'm just curious of what that number is because, again, going back to what Gordon said, it's a big deal. I think as those numbers shrink, so does its importance to that degree. You know what I'm saying? Keep
in mind, TNT is part of a basic cable package, so it's not like and most television now is digital. So it's, you now have, I don't think TNT is part of any digital packages, like I don't have cable. But you also, I also think this is a big deal because you're taking it away from the traditional network where, for years I remember seeing James Bond movies on ABC.
Yeah.
It is a big deal because you're reaching an audience that may not, that has the resources for cable, but may not necessarily have seen it first run may not go to get the DVD. So, you know, they can't say world premiere, obviously, but a network premiere where, you know, it's going to go through that first phase of, yes, it's going to be repeated on TNT, and then it'll make its way towards Island Television, which is, you know, I mean, there's now becoming a market for channels that just rerun old stuff. So I'd say, yeah, it is still kind of a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we'll just, it's cool for TNT. There you go. So,
yeah.
All right, so speaking of television, heading over to a show that we all are very fond of that comes back next week, guys. The synopsis has been revealed for Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2, Episode 3. As Coulson and his team race against Hydra to get to Donnie Gill, a dangerous gifted with the ability to freeze objects, while Simmons is caught in the crossfire. You guys excited?
Very short synopsis, but yeah.
Yeah, I know, right?
I do like the title. I do have to give the title some props. Making friends and influencing people.
Yeah, oh, nice.
I do like the title, yeah.
Yeah. And just to let everybody know, Donnie Gill is the name of Blizzard from the comics.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So it does fit.
Well, I mean, you know, I like that they're bringing him back from, you know, his brief appearance in season 1, which I think is always a cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, but what bugs me about this, in just my old curmudgeon-y way, okay, as being the senior guy here, is like, are we going to do this now? Are we going to hype the plots for every single episode? Like, you know, 2-3 weeks, you know, in front of it or whatever, okay? Ooh, episode 6, we're going to tease you with this one. And I'm like, hey, look, guys, we're already hyped up enough for the damn show, okay? Yeah. Just stop the overhype, all right? Just premiere the episode and let us watch it and enjoy it.
Right.
Well, I think you have to blame superhero hype for that, you know? And
this is par for the course for any network show. I mean, Doctor Who fans go absolutely bug nuts when the BBC announces like their TV guide blurb, because it's like, oh my God, spoilers! It's like, yeah, we get it. Yeah. It's what they're gonna put in the TV guide.
Right.
I don't mean this to you, Ron. I mean this to the overhyped people who are listening.
Yeah, right. No,
deal with it. We're not going to hype it because it's like we know it's when we look up the TV listing online, we'll see this. We'll go, oh, okay, yeah, we covered that in Zone 4. So
I think another reason for releasing this particular one is because it airs on October 7th, which is the premiere of The Flash.
Yeah.
I think you're trying to get, we got this too.
Flash number, or, you know, get people away from the Flash.
Yeah, so, but it kind of concerns me. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. moved an hour later this season and to avoid competing with the Flash. So.
Well, my wife the other day was like, going through one of the local newspapers or something, looking at the TV listings, you know, for the fall shows. Mm-hmm. So she's got this like notepad, and she's writing down, you know, things that we like on Monday, things that we like on Tuesday, things that, you know, those kind of things, right? Just trying to put it all together in some kind of map or plan. So, so she looks at me and she goes, everything's on Monday night. We'll have to watch, on repeats the rest of the week. I said, excuse me? And then she started listing all the shows that are on Monday night this week. It's insane. I went, God. Yeah.
You don't have a DVR or something, you better get one soon.
Yeah, well, right, that's the thing. We don't. We have on demand. So it's a case of we can still watch these shows, but it's like, you know, it's like, okay, so which ones are we going to watch tonight and which ones are we going to replay tomorrow? You know?
Right. Exactly.
But there are one or two nights of the week. I don't remember what the other one was, but one of them is Monday night is so overloaded with genre TV, it's insane.
It is crazy, but I'm looking forward to it. It all starts next week.
Yay!
This is interesting. This next headline: Bruce Timm's JLA Gods and Monsters is heading to Machinima as an online animated series. Now,
Machinima? What?
Machinima.
Machinima.
Yeah. I mean, Machinima is it's a popular. Go ahead, Gordon.
It's pronounced Machinima, and for those who don't understand, it's actually. I think it's a YouTube channel that focuses on anime They actually showed a Battlestar Galactica prequel a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So,
they're very popular.
yeah.
Yes.
Like extremely popular. But it's interesting because this is Bruce Timm's return to DC animation, and it's coming out as an animated film, which we have talked about on the show before. It was one of the San Diego announcements, I believe. Justice League Gods and Monsters, and it's not based on the comic story. It's an original story that Bruce Timm is doing, but now it's becoming a series on Machinima apparently.
Well, it's not even so much a new series, is they're going to serialize the film.
Okay.
Understand this, Grant? I mean, basically, people will be able to watch it in chunks
right.
on this, YouTube series before it's released, which I think they gave a date, the 15th of July or whatever. I don't remember, and I'd probably get that all wet. But it is coming out as a DVD, brand new animated feature. Sure. But those people who want to watch it first will be able to do so on this. I'm not trying to say the word. Forget it. Okay. Machinima. Yeah. Anyways, you'll be able to watch it there. Once they start posting it, you'll be able to go there and see like 10 minutes of it. The following week, another 10 minutes, or serialized.
Yeah.
And for those people who think that's cool, more power to them. And for the rest of us, I'm just waiting for the DVD Blu-ray to come out.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think I would prefer to watch it in full.
It's like, okay.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, but I mean, there are a lot of people that watch the serialized format, and they prefer it that way. So it's a smart move, honestly, for them. So
it's like the sliders version of animation, I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
So it does say episodes are expected to debut on Machinima in spring 2015, so not even that far away. So
no, it's coming fast.
Yeah. All right, so Marvel is in final negotiations to shoot Doctor Strange in England.
Does that mean he'll have a British accent?
Probably not.
I don't know. That would be neat, I think. Different.
I don't think Joaquin does British.
Yeah, but see, that's not even confirmed, John.
I know, but,
People have just assumed that now, but I mean, in reading this article about them using, the facilities in England, it said, and of course, Marvel is still in negotiations with Joaquin Phoenix, and that's the key element here. They're in negotiations. That is not confirmed.
Right. Yeah, and they haven't confirmed a date either. A lot of sites are saying, it's probably going to be this July 8th, 2016 time slot, but nobody knows for sure at this point.
Well, honestly, of the choices they've given, I'd almost rather have Johnny Depp over Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Yeah, this is going to sound like I'm being snarky, but who would be a really cool Doctor Strange, in my opinion? Jude Law.
Okay. I've seen him for a while.
I could see that, maybe.
Yeah. I'd go. Hey, look, after he became one of the coolest Dr. Watsons ever. I think he could do this.
That's the last thing I've seen him in, actually. I'm sure he's done other stuff. I just haven't.
Yeah, no, he'd have to play it really on type, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He'd have to not be Jude Law.
Yeah, right. Because I was watching. I saw him in the remake of Sleuth with Michael Caine, and I thought that kind of got me thinking. I think he could do that. I think he could hit that. I think because I'm not a big fan of what's his name Phoenix. Just doesn't strike me as. Yeah,
honestly, Christopher Phoenix would be better at it, and he's been dead.
Yeah, his brother.
Yeah.
So I agree. I'm not a big fan of Joaquin's either for that
role.
Well,
I was at one time, but then he just did that crazy
hippie kind of
performance art thing for that movie he was doing, and I'm like,
he was.
Yeah. Why are you doing this?
He's good in certain things. He was good in the Cash movie, I thought.
Yeah, great as Johnny Cash, but
I just don't see him as Doctor Strange at all.
No, I don't, because Doctor Strange has got to be played kind of subtly. Doctor Strange is not going to run up and punch you in the face.
Right. So, I don't know.
Well, there goes my number 2 choice, because I was thinking Jason Statham for...
Well, you want Jason Statham in everything.
Well, if we're going to throw out names here, I was talking earlier about Assassin's Creed and looking like it might be in some kind of a jeopardy of getting done. And one of my new favorite actors these days, because in the last few years he's jumped back and forth between playing villains and heroes, and that's Michael Fassbender. And I could see him doing a really good Doctor Strange.
I could see that.
Maybe, yeah.
But he's probably...
I mean, he's got the gravitas to pull it off, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
If they darkened his hair and he could actually grow facial hair, I could almost see Alexander Skarsgård doing it. Of course, he's going to be in Tarzan next
Trying to remember who that
year,
is.
the year after.
Yeah.
I recognize the name. I'm not sure.
Oh, True Blood, blonde-headed. vampire.
Oh, okay. Eric Northman. Okay. Got
Yeah,
it.
Eric Northman.
Yeah, I can see that.
I can see it. Plus, he's tall. He's tall enough.
Mm-hmm.
I always think of Doctor Strange as kind of tall and somewhat gangly for some reason.
Agreed. Well, Ditko-esque, that's why.
Yeah.
And hey, you Legionnaires out there, if you guys have casting ideas for Doctor Strange, send them in. We'd like to know what you think.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Write us for once.
Please, it's lonely here.
Right.
So lonely here at the top of the mountain.
Yeah. And we mentioned Fall TV. We have another casting news bit for Arrow coming up. They have cast Captain Boomerang, who is going to be played by Nick Tarabe, which, interestingly enough, it's for Arrow and not for Flash, and he is one of Flash's rogues. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is weird. And the other thing gets me is after this last season with the gentleman, I forget his name, Manu whatever, playing
Manu Bennett?
Yeah, Manu Bennett.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, I just have to pass this along to you guys to get a kick out of it. He was one of the guests at the Salt Lake City Con about 3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And several of my friends from Fort Collins were there, and one of them actually got to meet him at some guest party or whatever, him and his agent, and spent like a good half hour just talking to him, and said Manu is like the coolest guy in the world. He's a lot of fun to hang around with. He loved the Comic-Con and had a ball, doing Arrow. So just to pass that along, he's a genuine cool guy. And this Nick Tarabe was one of his co-actors in Spartacus, which is what I wanted to bring up. It's like, WB and the comic guys are like picking up all these refugees from the Spartacus series.
Right. It's interesting.
Hey, they were all really good. That's why.
Crazy thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a crazy thought about the whole Captain Boomerang on Arrow. I know that Steven Ansel has talked about how there's going to be possibly 1 or 2 crossover events with between Arrow and Flash. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if that's going to be a setup for one of the crossover events.
It could be.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Because I could see the character saying, okay, yeah, the guy with the pointy things, I got boomerangs, not going to work. This guy who runs fast, yeah, I can take him.
Yeah, I could see I could see it be interesting, the boomerangs versus the arrows kind of thing, kind of tying that into the Flash. But definitely, I hope it's part of that, because I'd love to see Boomerang be on Flash, because that's one of his classic rogues.
Oh my God! As we're talking, I'm having flashbacks of all the time he's appeared in Flash comics with those great Carmen Infantino covers. Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean, some of them were absolute classics. All right, and Boomerang was a great villain.
Yeah.
I just hope he wears a long white scarf.
Yes, has to.
I'm fine with the long white scarf, but just so they don't dress him like an Australian flight attendant.
Yeah, right.
With the little hat and the blue little tunic there. Yeah, that we can do without.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And if nothing else, there better be some humor to this character.
Well, you would hope.
Yeah.
And a really, really thick, like comically thick Australian accent.
You got it.
Yeah, that would be nice.
But no Crocodile Dundee.
No.
No. Please, no.
So we do have some other headlines, but nothing really important, so we're not going to cover those. I'll just touch on one of them. Fox is doing another DC series. It's a Vertigo series. Lucifer has been picked up by Fox.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, actually. I wonder how they're going to approach that, because the Oedipus of him giving up hell was he gave it to Dream. You know, he gave it to the Sandman.
Right.
So I wonder how they're going to attach that part. The rest of it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
You know, he gives it up, goes and opens a bar in Los Angeles, and then he has, you know, these encounters with, you know, demons and all that other stuff, which is very much like the premise for Constantine, but, you know.
Yeah, I said, boy, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting they got two very similar shows on two different networks at the same a year apart. But yeah, I think they would stay away from the Sandman reference and just do the rest of it.
Yeah, otherwise they're going to have a lot of backstory to do, and that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, but at this point, John, I know you've got to run.
Say on that note, I am out of 5,000. You guys have a great show.
All right, talk to you later, John.
Take care, buddy.
Bye.
Bye.
TV Talk.
Speaking of fall television, Ron.
Yeah.
This coming Monday and Tuesday, actually, 2 back-to-back episodes, I understand, is the official premiere of a new series, Forever, starring Ian Gruffeld and Judd Hirsch, actually. And
Alana de Gaza. Ooh, don't forget Alana.
Yes, I couldn't think of her name, but yes, definitely. And they actually aired this the pilot early, so I had a chance to watch it. I know you did as well. I don't know about you, Gordon.
I haven't.
Okay, well, there you go. But personally, I really enjoyed the pilot for this.
I did too, and you know, not to give away a lot of things, you know, spoiler words. Let's just play off of what the trailers have shown, anyways. All right, which is basically he lives in New York. His name is Dr. Henry Morgan, and he works for the New York what do you call it? The morgue.
Right.
He's a forensic physician. All right. He does the autopsies on people who've been killed in mysterious ways and whatever.
Right.
So, you know, we're given that, you know, right off the bat. Again, even in the trailers they've shown on television to premiere the show. And then you get the twist, which shows that he's pretty much an immortal in that every time he dies, he is reborn.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean as an adult. He dies in one location, and then wherever, that's the gimmick for this show, which is its own little unique take on things like Highlander and whatever, is that wherever he dies, the nearest body of water is where he resurfaces.
Yeah, completely naked, by the way.
Completely naked, right. So it's only him. It's not his clothes. His clothes can die and perish, but not him as a body. So he comes back. And that's the character we're given. So, yeah, the overtones, you know, when I saw the trailers originally, I went, okay, well, we're doing Highlander, okay, in a whole different way. And that's pretty much what we get. But with some twists and turns, and like I said, I don't really want to spoil it for people to watch it. What pulled me into watching the show, obviously, wasn't so much the theme of the plot, because, again, it seems to me like we're doing Highlander, people. All the genre fans out there know this already, but I like the cast.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
I'm a Johan Gruffett fan. Ever since he did BBC's Horatio Hornblower series like 15 years ago, all right, I became hooked with this young actor. Then watched his career grow. He's done a lot of good stuff. I liked him as Mr. Fantastic in Fantastic Four, all right?
I agree.
Yeah.
So seeing him come back, the last thing he did was a murder mystery series, which I think was on the WB, and I'm not 100% sure what it was called, but that wasn't my cup of tea. And it lasted maybe one season, if that long. So seeing him back on regular weekly TV was what propelled me and my wife to sit down and watch the preview premiere episode. Again, we liked it. We're giving it thumbs up because, again, of the cast. Pretty much what happens in the first episode, and again, without giving spoilers away to anybody here, all right, there is some kind of a terrorist on the loose in New York City. His initial terrorist act brings our hero, the guy who can't die, into the storyline where he meets this beautiful New York homicide detective played by Alana de Gaza, If that name doesn't ring a bell, she's the gorgeous brunette who was on Law and Order years ago, and she's only gotten more beautiful.
Agreed.
And so she meets him. She finds him an odd duck, Harvey, not knowing his secret.
Right.
But he helps her to solve this case.
Yeah.
At which point, by the end of it, she is going to be, working closely with him and gets to respect him a little bit more. Now, there are other elements unique to the first episode, which are the hook, and I am not giving those away.
Yeah, I won't say what Judd Hirsch's total role is, because that does give something away. But I will say he's the guy that does know the secret, and he helps the main character.
Morgan. He helps Dr. Morgan. And,
Right.
It's ironic that they named him Henry Morgan, and if you know your history, he was the pirate from the Caribbean years ago. Morgan
okay.
the pirate. And I don't wonder, because, again, we've only seen this trailer, and the trailer shows you very little about his past. We get glimpses. But apparently, during the course of the series, we're going to get more and more glimpses of him through the ages.
Right.
Again, much like they did Highlander.
Yeah.
And that could be a lot of fun. So, again, after seeing the first episode, I liked what I saw enough to come back and watch the next couple episodes. And if they can do, like we're talking here, if they can make it, okay, we get Highlander, but not so much, then maybe I'll stick around and watch it. But that's a really deep pit to fall into.
Yeah, it's a really interesting show. I'm going to mention a point here in just a second, but just to let you know, Ringer was the TV show that he was on previously.
There you go.
That's the one with Sarah Michelle Gellar. I did not like that show either.
Yep.
Anyway, I think it's interesting. I mean, there is the Highlander aspect, but at the same time, it's like he doesn't know why he keeps coming back, and he's trying to find that out. And I don't want to give too much of that away, but that's the difference there. It's not like there's a bunch of these guys running around and killing each other and all that kind of thing. So it is different. It's like I forget, somebody described it to me as Highlander meets something else, and I can't remember the analogy they used, but it was a really good analogy at the time. But I've really enjoyed it as well. Enough, like you said, to come back for a couple more episodes, see if it still holds my interest, and see if they don't fall into that trap. But I'd recommend checking it out, definitely.
All right.
Well, that's something I'll be doing.
Yeah. So it has a 2-night premiere, the pilot episode on Monday, and second new episode on Tuesday, actually, this week.
Cool.
This coming week.
And we'll be interested to hear what you think, Gordon.
Yeah, definitely.
Will do.
All right.
Segway!
So we decided like a long time ago to keep comics as a part of this, and we have not mentioned straight up comics in this episode yet. So why don't we talk about some comics?
That sounds like fun.
That sounds good to me. We'll start with you, Gordon, since we just kind of took the whole floor. What have you been reading lately? What have you been enjoying?
Well, I've been the one series that's really first we mentioned this last week. I've really liked Original Sin. Marvel, and I really liked the miniseries that was Iron Man versus Hulk. Part of what I liked about Original Sin is, as we mentioned last week, it's got that nice murder mystery vibe through it. In fact, the early issues kind of reminded me of Watchmen, but I think it's more when you do that kind of plot, you can't, both are kind of doing the same thing, so it's like some familiar tropes. Mm-hmm. It really has felt like, the one thing I like about it is that there's a very clever twist in one of the characters. And it's done in a very natural way, and it really has felt like, you know how every major comics talks about, DC and Marvel are good at the, things will change, characters will be revealed and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. At least until the next major arc.
Right.
And this is an arc that really justifies its existence.
Yeah.
That there's, and the Iron Man and Hulk one is very interesting because it suggests, with a mild spoiler, that somehow Tony Stark was involved in the accident that turned Bruce Banner into the Hulk. And that you learn what happened. And then there's a further complication where you go, yes, there's a nice resolution to it, but it's not just the straightforward, like, okay, it's not like Tony Stark, told, Dave Thunderbolt Ross, a little bit more money to make sure that the bomb worked well. Nothing like that. That's really been enjoyable. On the DC side, I just caught issue 2 of Multiversity, which is Grant Morrison's big multi-Earth thing.
Right.
The first issue I kind of thought was, it was dull. It was kind of, except for Captain Carrot. It was kind of like, it felt like a parody of Morrison's stuff, in terms of language. But I like where he kind of, okay, yes, there's this big cosmic. The thing that I liked about issue 2, which is it's basically on an Earth that has a pulp influence, and there are like huge, nice little pulpy intros. The art is by Chris Sprouse for issue 2, which I really like, and there's a really nice kind of crackling spirit about it that I really enjoy. I'm trying to think what other books I've been reading. Those are the two that come to mind, and I'm sure that, I'm still continuing with Lazarus. I'm still continuing with some of the other stuff that I've been reading, but those are the two that, especially Original Sin, because you get the sense that, unlike DC, which in many ways it's playing it safe, Marvel really is taking some creative rolls of the dice with its characters. Mm-hmm. So those are like the two that are very top of mind right now.
Yeah, and I agree with both. I haven't read the second issue in Multiversity yet, but I actually enjoyed the first one a lot. It was my book of the week, if I remember correctly. And I'm not a Morrison fan in general. I don't like his work typically, but I really enjoyed that. So I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, and
I like Morrison. It could just be that there's been so much hype around it that I went into it with the, okay, this better be good, versus accepting it on its own terms.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, no, I agree. That's the way I was. I was like, I approached it apprehensively. It was like, I don't like Morrison, but this concept sounds really interesting. I want to check it out. And I was pleasantly surprised. So I'm really glad to hear the second issue is even better. So can't wait to read it. All right, for me, and then I'll let you go, Ron. A book that kind of surprised me, that's really stood out to me lately, is Death of Wolverine, which I lambasted this event because it's another death of a character that is going to come back. Obviously, it's Wolverine. It's one of their cash cow characters, but the story is really well done so far. We're only 2 issues in, but it's the best Wolverine-esque story that I've read in a long time. It's like classic Wolverine, and he has no healing factor. He can't use his claws because every time it's adding to his death. It hurts really bad, and so he's kind of just gone underground, and he's trying to find out who is trying to, because he's got a bounty on his head and everything. And I don't know, it's the writing and the art is fantastic as well throughout this series so far. But the writer is Charles Soule, who is all over the place these days. He's writing a bunch of Marvel and DC stuff. He recently signed an exclusive with Marvel, so after he wraps up some DC stuff, he's going to be over at Marvel. And he's I don't know, he wrote Swamp Thing for a while. I think he's still writing it at this point, and did a really good run on that. And he's doing justice to the character that has honestly been diluted over the past decade. And, Wolverine hasn't been the character that we've known. He's been this, he's totally changed with being a teacher and all this stuff, but this is kind of like classic Wolverine, if you're a fan of the character. So yeah, I kind of recommend this. It's been very high on my list lately. So yeah, so that's the main thing that stands out to me. Multiversity would have been the other one for me as well from DC, because the Futures End stuff is kind of hit and miss that I've been reading, because I've been reading a lot of that, and it's just, I don't know, some of it's good, some of it's not so good, but none of it's great at this point. So, what about you, Ron?
Yeah, it's when we decided we were going to do this, and look at what we're reading. The first thing that struck me is I read maybe a dozen titles a month now, which isn't a lot, and some of them are just regulars that I'm sticking with that I enjoy. So your mind goes to what excites me when I get my stash of comics in the mail. All right, what is it that I'm that's really entertaining me these days? All right, so. Right off the bat, let me just go with my two favorite comics right now on the market, and Gordon's already mentioned one of them, all right, and I owe you guys in this podcast for finding it, but my top two favorite comics right now are Lazarus by Greg Rucka and Velvet by Ed Brubaker, and for different reasons, obviously, but Rucka's Lazarus, I mean, to me is top-notch dystopian science fiction. Yeah. I mean, he has this world so well mapped out, and the characters so beautifully defined. Michael Lark does the artwork, and it's a very gritty, in-your-face kind of style of artwork. So every single issue, he's finished a story arc recently, is now starting another one. I think they're up to issue 7 or 8. And I mean, I see this in my stash, and I'm like a little kid. I mean, as a writer, this is the kind of comic that I think, exemplifies how well storytelling can be done graphically. And the other one is Velvet by Ed Brubaker and Steve Epping, who basically turned the whole James Bond spy thing on its ear and give us a female James Bond in the character of Velvet. And very adult. There's sex, violence, very risque, but it's an adult story. And again, I haven't liked a female spy character like this since Modesty Blaze. And that's how high I put Velvet up. Both these series I would love to see someday translated into film, because I think that the potential for both is amazing. Mm-hmm. Now, again, those are the two tops. I get a bunch of other things. I get Earth 2 because it deals with the Justice Society, which is still my all-time favorite comic team. Mm-hmm. And I like how James Robinson's writing that. And I like World's Finest with Power Girl and Huntress. Over at Marvel, I'm still a Captain America fan, and you know what? Even though this was, the big, gimmicky, thing about Sam Wilson, the Falcon, becoming Captain America, mm-hmm. the story is building up perfectly. They're doing a great job with laying it out. And again, it's like, oh my God, I thought this was just going to be a gimmick, and you don't have big expectations. Nothing could be further from the truth. They're playing this straight out. They're doing a great job with it. And the pseudo-tragedy of what's happened to Steve Rogers, he hasn't died again, thank God. Okay. But as we know, he's lost his powers and has aged to where he should be. So there's that semi-tragedy there. And, hey, I don't for a second believe that eventually Steve Rogers will eventually be Captain America again someday. But for the course of this particular storyline and the development of Sam Wilson in that role, kudos again. Gordon just said it. Marvel's willing to take chances, and I applaud them for it. And finally, what I consider my biggest surprise of all of comics these days that I follow, adamantly, and that's from Dark Horse, and that's Captain Midnight. Because when that series launched, you got to know. Okay, the hero from the 40s and whatever, gets thrown into the future, and I'm going, huh? Yeah. We're doing Captain America all over again? I mean, they're even captains, that kind of stuff. But you know what? The writers, and shoot me because I should have got the name down, but the writer who does this has so much fun. Yeah, he never gets heavy-handed with the scripts. He plays the characters seriously. And his old team from the 40s, the characters that have grown older, his still battle with Fury Shark, his old enemy's daughter, brought into this modern world, now dealing with the government agencies that are trying to take over his inventions and what he's produced since World War II, stuff like that. Captain Midnight has turned out to be the surprise for me as a comic book reader in the last year. It's a fun action superhero comic, and boy, there's way too few of those on the market today.
Yeah, agreed. It's Joshua Williamson, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, thank you. Okay, the art is excellent. But like I said, he maintains that sense of fun. He never takes it too seriously, okay? And, hey, kudos for that.
Yeah. All great choices. I have not read Velvet, but I've heard really good things about it. But all the rest of them, I agree. I jumped off Cap with the Dimension Z story. About 3 or 4 issues into that, I just couldn't get into it.
That was awful. No, okay, that was horrendous. I am so glad that storyline is done,
Yeah.
even to accept this, this new, Sam Wilson. But that was an horrendous plot. But it might have reverberations later on. They might have been a plan that I am just now starting to understand. So we'll see.
Yeah, I plan on jumping on when they reboot again.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll talk about it in the future because I'm sure you'll continue reading.
Yes.
All right. So that's pretty much our show this week, guys. So all we have left to do is go around the table and see what everybody has coming up, coming out, and going on. Gordon, what you got?
Okay, well, as always, I have a short story in First Aid Productions, Tall Pulp Anthology. My story is about a man of metal who goes around and fights for justice and truth, and he finds himself in a town in the outskirts of St. Louis in the 1950s where he's called a communist and he has to fight an evil mayor. So Tall Pulp, you can get it as a trade paperback. You can get it as a Kindle book. So buy that from First Aid Productions. I'm also currently writing a bunch of things, including a small piece for an upcoming Airship 27 anthology. Since Ron's there, I'm under automatic gag order, so I can't really talk about it. But there's another piece in process, and I am continuing to do some consulting and all sorts of other work. So I'm pretty much a busy guy, so that's it for me.
Nice. And Ron, what about you?
Okay. Right now, comic-wise, it's pretty much what's taking up most of my time. The latest thing that we put out from Redbud Studios was Ivy Frost Scientific Investigations, which is available from Redbud Studios, and it's an old classic pulp character from the 1930s. Ironically enough, I'm going to get to write him again because since releasing Redbud's first full-color comic, this Ivy Frost book that I'm talking about, I've started doing some more work for Moonstone Comics, guys. Part of their pulp anthology lines, as Brant already knows, because Brant and I are involved with a two-part story called The Seer Stone, which teams up the Black Bat and Domino Lady. That's been written for a while, but Brant's in the last stages of lettering issue number 1, and as I was telling him before we started recording today, the artist, Michael Dorman, has started work on issue number 2 from my script, and I've just started to see the first pages for number 2. And guys, I'm in seventh heaven. Okay, Mike's a great artist, and he's doing a great job with this. On the other side of this, Moonstone asked me to get involved with another project that they were working on, which is kind of like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen for Pulp Heroes. It's a thing called Final Phase, where a group called the Black Sun has released a plague in New York City that turns animals and people into mutated versions of themselves. So rats, cats, dogs are like 3-4 times larger than they usually are. They're savage. They're attacking people. And those people who get infected turn into like cave people or whatever. And this is all happening in New York City, so that the Black Bat calls out all the mystery men to help him deal with this situation. And it's, again, another two-parter. I just finished writing the second concluding chapter to Final Phase and sent it off to Joe, and it was approved. The artist is a foreign artist, and his first name is Silvestri, and there's no way I'm pronouncing his last name, Guy. It's got no vowels, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But he is such a gifted artist. And just to give you a little tease, some of the characters that pop up in this 2-issue adventure are, again, besides the Black Bat, the Phantom Detective, Jim Anthony's Super Detective, the Domino Lady, Ivy Frost, and my newest pulp creation, Nighthawk, the Flying Spy, makes his comic book debut in this series. That's in production right now. That's being illustrated, and with fingers crossed, we'll see it maybe at the start of next year sometimes. So that's what's keeping me hopping.
Awesome. Very cool. Lots of exciting stuff
Yeah.
from both of you. All right, for me, another reminder for the New Comic Day Kickstarter, which is in its second week now. You can find it New Comic Day, The 5-Year Journey, if you search for it, or there will be a link in the show notes. This is collecting the first 5 years of the strip in a 152-page hardcover. If you'd like to support it, you can go do so. Comic Frontline and Comic Related are teaming up once again for DC's event, Futures In, which I mentioned earlier in the show. Comic Frontline's doing the reviews of every single Futures In one-shot that's coming out this month, and Comic Related has a hub that contains all those reviews and articles and more, so go check that out. And speaking of Comic Related, October 1st is the 10-year anniversary of Comic Related.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's been 10 years already. But, yeah, so we don't know what we're doing, if we're doing anything, but it's definitely a cause of celebration, 10 years. We've been doing this, and thank you, everybody that is listening to this via Comic Related that is a regular reader of ComicRelated.com. And, yeah, aside from that, I'm flatting some stuff. I'm lettering some stuff, obviously. And I'm still waiting on an official date for the book that I have, a prose story coming out in Singularity, Rise of the Posthumans. Tentative date is around Christmas of this year. So when I have a solid date, once again, I will let everybody know because I'm very excited about that. And that's all I got for this week. So that's going to wrap us up.
There we go.
All right. So, Ron, you want to read us out this time?
Sure, no problem. Hey, as ever, we'd like to thank the official bands of Zone 4, the Ray Wall Band and Society's Play that you hear on the show each and every week. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or free cash laying around, send it to us here at Zone4 at ComicRelated.com. I can't get in trouble for saying that, can I? Anyways, we are also a proud member of the Comic Related Podcast Network. And as always, thanks for listening. You are now leaving Zone 4.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, all.
Please send us bacon.
Yeah, always.
This is only a test for the X-Men.
Heck.
Go ahead,
but no,
You're cutting out again, John.
Oh man, not again. How about now?
Better for now.
All right, loud. Anyway.
Actually, at my end, you're still cutting out, John.
Damn it. I don't know what.
You don't know what
to do about hang old headphones and see if that works better.
Okay.
La 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 la.
You know, I figured out why Skype is so problematic.
Yes.
Because years ago, Microsoft bought them.
Oh. That would do it.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hey,
Right.
Yay!
Awesome. Yeah, John was messaging me. You can't hear me?
Yeah.
Oh,
And here, Gordon's story. I don't know what.
hey, John, you're cutting out again, man.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, between my Android headset and John's cutting out, this is going to be the vocoder auto-tune version of Zone 4. Sorry, John. Oh, man.
Oh.
Oh, I'm glad Oh, John's back.
John?
Guten Tag.
Thank goodness. All right.
This has been a Gonzo Goose production.